Welcome back to another Boss Up Visual podcast show. It is your favorite host and CEO, Shiketa D. Days. I am one of the CEOs, along with my husband, Derek Days, of Derek Denzel Days II Corporation. We both started this Boss Up Visual Media platform to help small business owners, authors, coaches, and just individuals that are just seeking to find a new pathway and earn an extra income. But we also wanted the Boss Up Visual platform to also be not only informative, but to also be fun as well. So we wanted to add our classic movie breakdown where we come on every so often and we break down a classic movie. So last week, the movie that we talked about was how Stella got her groove back, and we kind of gave the plot, story, and I wanted to break down this week Waiting to Exhale. Waiting to Exhale was published 1995, and it is one of those classic movies of all time for women. And the story plot behind Waiting to Exhale, it had a powerful soundtrack as well that women just fell in love with. Terry McMillan, who was the producer for Waiting to Exhale, he measured its readers and its vivid descriptions of what a black woman wants in her life and how hard it is to find it. So women loved it because men were not so thrilled because a friend of mine suggested that the male version of Waiting to Exhale will be much shorter. What I'm looking for a woman in someone who's great in bed and then turns into a six-pack and pizza. This is, of course, exactly the problem. The women in Waiting to Exhale are tired of being treated as disposable commodities by men who will tell them anything before sex and have nothing to say afterwards. So as the movie version, it opens up, broadcast executive Savannah Whitney Houston, who is Whitney Houston. She's driving from Denver, where they are apparently there are apparently no men worth having, to Phoenix, where she hopes there are. So soon she's playing hostess in her new home to a married man who has been saying for years he's about to leave his wife, right? So also in Phoenix are her three good girlfriends, Bernadine, which is played by Angela Bassett, whose husband is about to leave her for his white secretary. Gloria, Loretta Devine, who has centered her life around her son, putting on pounds in the meantime. And then also Robin, which is Layla Rochan, is a successful businesswoman, but not in love. So during the course of Waiting to Exhale, all these women will either find what they're looking for or learn to look for something better. And they'll do it with dialogue, wardrobes, settings. So these are not really, real women so much as fictional creations of carefully designed to embody the dreams and desires of real life. So many of the women in the audience will be happy to be like any of these women, man or no man. So the casting list, it includes a lot of men who pop up and disappear like ducks in a shooting gallery. Savannah may also have Kenneth, who plays Dennis Haysbert plays Kenneth in her life. He flies in several times a year, telling suave lies to his wife, on the phone, while promising Savannah that he's going to divorce her eventually. But Bernadine has worked for years in her husband's business, only to have him leave her for his secretary. The only woman I ever loved, Bernadine goes ballistic, throwing his clothes into his car and setting it on fire. Would it be better if she were black, her husband asked. No, it would be better if you were black. So that was one of the classic storylines of Waiting to Exhale. And the other part where she said, get your shit, and get out. That was one of my favorites. So Later on in the film, in a touching sequence, she finds a soulmate in a man whose wife is dying. The actor who is not billed in the credits will be a pleasant surprise. So this is just a little breakdown of the classic Waiting to Exhale movie review. We're going to be coming back with more of these just to spice up the Boss Up Visuals podcast, because it's not only about business, it's also about dealing with real life situations while you're building a business, and who's going to remain together while they're building this business, or if they're going to change. This movie had a lot of traits of life and business. So I was happy to share Waiting to Exhale movie review with you on this podcast, because it goes excellently well with the theme of this podcast, because we're not only teaching you about business, we're also teaching you about life as well and how to cope with the both. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us for another classic movie breakdown, and we'll see you on the next classic movie breakdown. So just be on the lookout for that next classic movie breakdown.